difficult sometimes. But to be safe, to be happy, to complete a task, you need to obey. Only when you obey your teacher, then you learn to complete the work given by her, then you do learning. But if you say, oh, I'm not going to do. Now, obeying, mommy says, do not go down on your own. Do not go out on your own. Mommy says, you have to eat this food. It's good for your health, but you don't like. So, obedience. Today we are going to talk about how obedience help you, little boys and girls. Now, I'll tell you a little story about a little girl who was disobedient. She wouldn't obey, and let's see what happened to her. Now, once there was a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. They used to call her Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red hood on her head given by her grandmother. Her grandmother lived deep in the forest, and she lived with her mother on the other side of the forest. So to meet grandma, she need to go through a shortcut in the forest to meet her. Now, one day, the little Red Riding Hood's mother said, little girl, you need to take some goodies for grandma because she's not keeping too well. So little Red Riding Hood took the basket given by her mother, which had some fruits and buns and cakes and honey, and she was on her way. Now before she left, her mother said, look here, little girl, while you go through the forest, you are not to talk to anybody. You are not to stop anywhere. There will be strangers or anyone who may want to talk to you. Do not talk. Yes, Mama, she said, and off she went. By the time she started walking, she forgot all about her mother had told her about the strangers and not stopping. She saw beautiful flowers on the way. She said to herself, Grandma is not well. Let me collect some flowers for her. So she dropped the basket and collected some beautiful flowers. While she collected the flowers, there was a little cunning wolf hovering around in the forest. He saw her and he said, oh, little girl, what are you doing here? She said, no, I'm collecting flowers for my grandma. Where does your grandmother live? And she told the big bad wolf where her grandmother lived and why she was going there. Now the wolf was a very cunning fellow. He wanted to eat this little girl. So he ran ahead of her through another way and reached grandma's place. And he frightened grandma and locked her in the cupboard, put on grandma's dress and lay in the bed. The little Red Riding Hood, she collected flowers, picked up the basket, took the shortcut to grandma's place, and when she reached there, she knocked at the door. And this bad wolf disguised himself and in grandma's voice says, yes, please come in. And finally, she found grandma was different. She thought maybe because she is not well. She said, Grandma, you have large eyes. Grandma, you have such big ears. Grandma, such big teeth. And then the bad wolf pounced on her. She ran. Luckily, her father was a woodcutter, cutting wood in the forest. So he said, help. And he came to her rescue and he killed the bad wolf, rescued the girl, also found the grandma in the cupboard. All because of disobedience. Luckily, the wolf did not eat the little girl. If not for the mother, her father. So, what did we learn from this story? we little girls and boys must listen, must obey the instructions given by our parents, must obey our grandparents. We must obey our teachers. When we obey teachers, elders, grandparents, and our parents, then we will be happy, we will be safe. We won't get into trouble. So today we are doing I must be obedient. I must be obedient. And when we say obedient, to anyone we must obey. Even if you are friends in your class, you must obey them because there will be leaders, group leaders, and there will be class monitors. In obeying, you will not get into trouble. So what we are doing today, we should not be like the little Red Riding Hood who did not obey her mother and got into trouble. So you are telling yourself today, I must be obedient. First person that you must be obedient is, I must be obedient to my parents. Parents know what is best for you. In the house, mommy puts down a lot of rules for you. I must be obedient to my parents. Mommy says, you must do your work on time, you must eat your meals on time, you drink your milk on time. Mommy says, put away your shoes in the proper place. Lots of little rules mommy give you. We must learn to obey. Mommy says, don't play in the kitchen, don't go play in the water, and so on. So, being an obedient child to parents who knows best for you, who loves you, who only think of good for you, your parents, when you obey. So, I must be obedient to my parents. When you obey your parents, you are happy, you are safe. So, how do we read that? Two. What's the sound of T? T, T, two. T, two. My, pa. So, learning to read is also important. I, what's the sound of I? E. Ink in the mouse. E. Must. B. O. I must be obedient to my parents. The next, you go to school. So, I must be obedient to my teachers. Teacher. She helps you in your learning. She teaches you good things. She teaches you many nice things, good manners, nice things she teaches you. So, we must listen attentively, calmly, listen and obey. And when you do that, you become a real cute little boy and girl. So, I must be obedient to my teachers in the school, whatever level. Okay. The next, you need to be obedient to who? To my aunts, to my uncles. Yes, they come regularly home, so you need to obey them. To my aunts and uncles. They only think good of you, good for you. Sometimes what mommy forgets, teacher forgets, they remind you and they expect you to be obedient, obeying. Sometimes it is difficult, but then you must say to yourself, obedience will go a long way to make me a happy little, safe little girl. So, I must be obedient to my parents at home, to my aunts and uncles when I go out to their houses, to my teachers when I am at school and around the school, not only in the classroom, around the class, in the playground, etc. Then I must also be obedient in respecting the elders. So elders can be anybody, neighbors, your flat people, anyone, anybody older. You need to respect them. So I must be obedient to all elders. Whoever you come across, to the elders, we need to respect them. I must be obedient to all elders who think only good of me, who is helping me to be a better child, a good child in society, in school, in our house, around. Okay? Then I must be obedient in doing my school work daily. I must obey. I have to finish. You are given several, say a couple of holidays, but you must say to yourself, I will not put away my work for tomorrow. I will be obedient. I'll complete my work now, today, and I will not put away for tomorrow. So tomorrow I can relax, I can play. So you must discipline yourself. That's what elders, parents, teachers are telling you. So I must be obedient in doing. Must be obedient in doing my schoolwork. My schoolwork regularly, sincerely. So I must be obedient in doing my schoolwork. Whatever assignment given to you by your teachers, don't put it for tomorrow. Do it and obey, and you will learn. What about your room, your study place? You come back from school, when you sit down to do your homework, when you finish your homework, how do you keep it? Mommy says, keep your place nicely. Arrange all your books. Learn to obey. So I must be obedient in arranging my study table. It's very important to listen to mommy, learning tidiness at home. So I must be obedient in arranging and keeping my study table clean and keeping my study table neat, tidy. So mommy says, when you sit down to do, when you complete your work, homework, what must we do? Arrange all the books, put all your things away properly, and keep your study table neat and tidy. And thus, what are you learning in obedience? You are learning to be neat, you are learning to be tidy. When you finish your homework, you are learning to be disciplined, you are learning to plan your work. Okay? So I must be obedient. Always following parents' instructions. You want to go out. You want to go to the neighbors. You want to go play down with your friends. In all this, you want to do some work in the kitchen. But mommy says, be careful. She gives you some instructions. So, I must be obedient in following parents' instructions strictly. Whatever. Because when you grow up, you will also be giving instructions, orders, and others must obey. So unless you obey, how will others obey? So I must be obedient to my parents' instructions given. Lot of instruction they'll give you. You need to listen carefully. You must also execute that, not simply listen and go away. Every little thing that mom and dad tells you or your older brother tells you in your house, it's very, very important for you, for your safety, for your happiness, and for your growth. You learn a lot of discipline. Now, in obeying, as I told you, when you're disobedient, like Red Riding Hood, you land up in trouble and you have to ask for help. So, when you're obedient little girl, everybody loves you and they call you a little obedient girl or boy. Who do you obey? Your parents, your teachers, aunts and uncles, grandparents, you, all the elders means everyone, the neighbors, everybody is included. In doing your schoolwork, that's very important. Never put away your work, disciplining yourself. Not only learning obedience, but disciplining of mind and yourself. Arranging, when you arrange your study table, after you study, before you leave the table, when you keep nicely, you are learning disciplining yourself. You have obeyed your mother, you learn to be neat. So a lot of things you learn. Then, to all instructions by the parents given to you, it's all out of very great love. So you have to listen to your brother, older brother, sister, parents, and learn to obey. Now let's look at some sounds here. I think most of the sounds you already know. I, what's the sound of I? E, in E. Then B, B. O. How do you say that? O, O. And here, T. For T, you say T and P. P for P. Then A. This is U, A. You say, and the next you have is elders, E, E, E. And then you have D, 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 D. Doing, D. And then you have sound here, school. Then you have wa sound for work. And K for you have here. And you have, again you have I here, E. Let's read that. I must be obedient to my parents, to my teachers, to my aunts and uncles, to all elders in doing my school work, in arranging and keeping my study table neat, to my parents' instructions. So when you do all this, when you are obedient, when you are calm, obedient, then you become a little obedient girl or boy. When you obey, you will learn a lot of things. You learn to be perfect. Sometimes mommy sends you for piano class, dance class, part class, whatever. In all these classes, the teachers give you certain instruction. And when you listen to them and obey, what will you become? You learn to master. You master the keyboard perfectly. Why? Because you're obedient to the teacher. You master the dance postures and all the way things that they're teaching you. You become a perfect dancer. When you go for singing class, when you listen attentively, obey attentively, and practice, what will you? You become a perfect classical singer. You can sing well. What about the drawing class? In every area, wherever we are, whether we are in the class or at home, when you listen to the detailed instructions, when we obey, you become a perfect, lovely child. So that's what we are trying to tell you here. So wherever you are, what must you tell yourself? I must be obedient. You tell yourself. Others needn't tell you. I must be obedient. Now you are going out. You're on the road. Then you realize you have to cross the road Your friend is standing on the other side. So what must you do? You have to cross. Can you run across? Something will go wrong. If you run across the road, you will meet with an accident. So you have to look, where can I cross? I must keep telling myself, I must be obedient. So on the road, what must you keep in mind? On the road, I must be obedient in following the road rules. I must be obedient in following the road rules. The road rules. The rules are put down on the road so that we can be safe and secure. So, where will you cross? You will cross where there is a zebra crossing. You can get help of a policeman and you can cross the road. When you are walking on the road, you can walk on a pedestrian. So, you are keeping to the rules of the road. When dad and mom, they are driving, they look at the traffic light. There's red, yellow, blue and amber. They will tell you, the red says stop, amber says move on, green says yes, you can go, it's safe. So you are looking at the light, looking at the signs on the road. The road has got lots of road signs for you to follow. Lights are there to help you. Policeman is there. So I must be obedient in following road rule for what? For your safety. That you are safe and secure. Okay? Then, where else will you be? The teacher says, we are going on a picnic next month. And you have to bring along this. Then the next thing the teacher says, now I am going to put you into small groups so that you are safe. You will have a leader, and here 6 of you, 5 of you will obey the 6th person, that's your leader. So you have a group leader. So I must be obedient when I go out in a group. That's the instruction given by the teacher. I must be obedient when I go out in a group. And in a group, you also have a leader. So I am going out and the teacher says, who should you obey here? You will obey the group leader. So when I go out, what do I must be obedient when I go out in a group. And group means more than 2 people. So according to what the teacher says, teacher's instruction, I will be an obedient child. I do not give trouble. I'll be an obedient child so that I am taken care of, I am safe. Then what happens? You love to go for games. The bell rings and the day you have PT, you are very happy. Isn't it? You run to the field. Now, at the games field, what are you supposed to do? A lot of rules there. The teacher blows the whistle and a lot of things to do there. So, I must be obedient to the rules in the games field. What must I do? I want to play a happy game. I want my team to win. So, I must be obedient when I go out, when I go play in the games field. So, I must be obedient in following. I must be obedient in following rules in the games field. In the games field. In the games field, we have games teacher and she has a whistle and she says, we'll play this game now. You have to do this. You shouldn't do this. She gives you instructions. So, you must be an obedient little girl or boy while playing team game, individual game. And so, I must be obedient in following rules in the games field. Then you are happy. Then you are safe. You are not well. and you go and see a doctor, and the doctor gives you medicines, injection to keep you, to get you to back again. So what must you do? I must be obedient to my doctor in taking my medicine. What do you do after going to the doctor? No, mama, I don't like that medicine. When you don't take medicine, when you don't obey the doctor, you will not get better easily. But when you listen to the doctor, follow the instruction, you will get better fast. When you are not well, doctor says, do not eat this food, do not eat sweets, but you will say, no, I want that sweet. How can you get better? So, I must be obedient to my doctor in taking my medicine and food. I must be obedient to my doctor in taking medicine and food. And food, whatever food doctor says only you must take. Then you will get better fast. So obedience to the doctor. I must be obedient to my doctor in taking my medicine and food. What the doctor says, you will take. Then what will happen to you? You will get better. You will be back on your feet once again. Because that's the time you want to eat a different food. Always obey. It will help you. And doctor always says things best for you. And finally, you in your classroom, you have class leader, team leader, group leader. In the class, the teacher appoints leaders so that the work goes smoothly, so that no problem in the class. So what is your work in the class? I must be obedient to my class leader. That's what the teacher says. I must be obedient to my class leader. And sometimes you also have team leaders. You are put into a team. Class leader, team leader, group leader. And in all these places, we need to be obedient. When we don't listen to the class leader, she'll report to the teacher. When you don't listen to the team leader, she will report to the teacher. And then you are in trouble. We don't want trouble. You want to be a happy child, safe. So, I must be obedient to my class leader and team leader. Then you are safe, then you are happy, no tension. Now, some sounds here, F. What is the sound of following? F sound. Then wa. Wa sound you have here. C, you have K, K. C and K, same sound. Leader, L. Remember the sound? L, leader. T, and G, 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 G sound. For G, R, R sound for. And here you have O sound. And G again here. Road rules. R. Let's read that together. I must be obedient in following the road rules. I must be obedient when I go out in a group. I must be obedient in following rules in the games field. I must be obedient to my doctor in taking my medicine and food. I must be obedient to my class leader, team leaders. And when you listen to all of them, you will be a happy, obedient little girl and boy.